Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Russlandsfarerne. We are going to continue talking about my favorite theme, which is the different languages of Russia. And today's language is the Tatar language spoken in Tatarstan. And today my guest, my guest is, as always, a native speaker of said language, and other than that, she's also a Russian philolog. Philolog. I forgot what it is in English for some reason. And she lives in Kazan, the capital of Tatarstan. Welcome to the show, Leisan Krasnova.
Good evening. I'm very glad to be a guest of your podcast, and I think I can tell something interesting for all people who watch this video.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but we can start with the first question. But first of all, tell us about the Tatar language and who the Tatars are, for those who doesn't know anything about them.
Tatars are Turkic ethnic group of Russia and post-Soviet countries. It is the largest national minority area, Tatarstan, the European part of Russia, the Volga region, the Urals, Kazakhstan, Central Asia, the Far East, etc. The number of Tatars in Russia is more than 5 million people, and they are divided into three main ethno-territorial groups. They are Volga-Ural, Astrakhan, and Siberian. On religious grounds, mainly Sunni Muslims, there is also a small group of Orthodox Christians, Krashens. There are several theories of the ethnogenesis of the Tatars. In the scientific literature, three of them are described in the most detail: Turco-Tatar, Bulgaro-Tatar, Tatar-Mongol theory. At present, the Turkey-Tatar theory is gaining more recognition. About writing, their first alphabet was runic, then Sogdian, then Arabian, Latin, and now it's Cyrillic graphic. And Tatar is agglutinative language that is word formation occurs by attaching different formants to the main part of the word, and each of them carries only one meaning. The law of synharmonicity also operates, as in all Turkic languages, when the vowel of the first syllable determines the character of the vowels of subsequent syllables. There are few vowels, e, u, e, and also we have some parallels. For example, a, e, u, e. And Tatar language is disturbed in Tatarstan, Bashkortostan, Mari-El, Udmurtia, Chuvashia, and so on. I'd also like to mention that there are Tatar diasporas outside the Russian Federation, and the total number of people in them is more than 1 million. The Tatar language includes two active, Middle and Western, and passive Eastern dialects. In fact, even the classification has several options, but this option is the most popular now.
Yeah, and as a Tatar yourself, share with us your experience as a native speaker of the Tatar language. Do you speak it often?
Yes, I speak Tatar, but not so often. Because of my job, my Russian husband, for example, because of my education in university. I studied Russian language, but I found out that my great-great-grandmother was Russian, and her name was Anastasia. But basically, of course, our entire family consists of Tatars. Only in generation of me, my brothers and sisters, the percentage ratio has almost equalized. I speak the Tatar language since my childhood until now. And I can say that I started speak Tatar not so often after my university education studying, because I extremely like Russian language, and that's why I started practice Tatar not so often.
But have you ever had any problems in preserving your language, for instance?
At the moment, I can't say that I had or have any problems with preserving the language just for myself. But of course, I noticed that I speak it less often due to the fact that at work, in institutions, at home, I have to speak Russian. But Tatar is my native language. I have unconditional love for it, of course, just as a given. Therefore, I want to speak it more often, and I really hope that our children will be fluent in both Tatar and Russian. Yes.
And but what is the situation of the Tatar language in Russia? Is it alive or is it growing?
Yes, the Tatar language lives on and develops. I can't say whether it is faster or not compared to the past case, for example. In my opinion, now the Tatar language has become more popular and widespread, at least in Tatarstan. This is facilitated by the development of Tatar TV channels, radio stations, theaters, the availability of printed publications, literature, the opening of new establishments, cafes with Tatar names, for example, Chalbar, Bazar, Kstabi, Tibetei, Akiyet, etc. Internet portals in the, for example, and the naming of cultural objects in Tatar words, for example, Extreme Park Uram, National Library Kitabkhane, Kazan Family Center, and so on.
Yeah, that sounds good, but yeah, but there's also a fact that a law in 2017 was passed that they didn't make the Tatar language an compulsory subject in the school in Tatarstan. And how was the Tatar language affected by the fact that it stopped being called a compulsory subject in the schools?
The Tatar language ceased to be compulsory in the school curriculum only in 2017. I graduated from school much earlier. That's why I can say for sure if it got worse or better for the education system. As for me and my generation, according to my feelings, everything has remained at about the same level since all my environment, which knows the language, speaks it. Besides, they teach their children Russian, Tatar, and English. It seems that for my peers, this is becoming an unspoken rule. I think it affects all these things that I mentioned earlier. Fact that I and my peers know and speak the Tatar language. We try each in his own way to pass on this knowledge and history to the next generations, but it's a certain predominance of the Russian language, the realization that we live in the largest country in terms of territory, Russia, obliges us to pass pay great attention to the Russian language and Russian culture.
Mm. And what is the government of Tatarstan doing in order to preserve the language? Is enough being done to preserve it or not?
In fact, this is a rather relevant and delicate question, because the authorities understand that the current situation, and especially the abolition of the Tatar language as a compulsory language for studying at school, has a negative impact on its development. In this regard, in 2018, at the World Congress of Tatars, it was decided to form a national council called Milli Shura, the members of which are people artists of Tatar theaters, rectors and teachers of Kazan Federal University, and so on. Special emphasis is placed on creating groups with the Tatar language of communication in kindergartens, since it is in childhood that habits and skills are laid. Also, multilingual complexes with training in 3 languages are being opened in the Republic. We have such schools in Yelabuga and Kazan. Now, also such schools will soon open in the cities of Naberezhnye Chelny, Almetysk and Nizhnekamsk. Also, they hold conferences on the study and development of Turkic languages, interethnic communication, and improving interaction between countries with related languages. All this, I think, helps to exchange experience and gain new knowledge.
Mm. Yeah. And let's talk about the language itself. What is special about the Tatar language? How does it differ from other languages? And also share some interesting facts about the Tatar language.
Okay. The Tatar language is characterized by heterogeneity. The Tatar language had undergone many changes and has different theories of origin. Therefore, it can be asserted with certainty that the Tatar language arose according to any specific historical scheme. The Tatar language includes 1 passive and 2 active dialects. Also, representatives live in different areas, and I can say that because of Tatar language is agglutinative, we can see very long words, like some train, and kind of passive. The Tatar language is characterized by a word order in which the subject comes first, then the predicate. For example, kış gitti, winter came. If, for example, you add a definition, you get definition, subject, then predicate. Salkım kış geldi. But in general, there is no strict order of the secondary members. It depends on the context. In the Tatar language, verbal stress tends to the last syllable in a word. Also, the use of the singular form to express the verb in the plural. In the Tatar language, as in all Turkic languages, there is no category of gender. For example, if in English we can understand the gender using the pronoun he or she, then in Tatar there's only 1 variant of pronoun ul, which can mean both feminine or masculine. There is a category of belonging. Also, I can say that if you know Tatar, you will be able to understand some words and phrases in Bashkir, mostly all Azeri, Turkish, for example. I watched several performances in the Bashkir language, and at the theater, almost all the words were clear to me. Also, we can say that the variety of names in Tatar language is achieved through the structure of the language. Since it is agglutinative, the formation of names follows the same pattern. For example, Gali, Altın Gali, Ahmed Gali, Mullah Gali, and so on. It's a lot of variants of one name. And the last, in the Tatar language, surnames are formed in the overwhelming majority from the name of some male ancestor, in comparison with the Russian language, in which surnames of any form formed from any words are possible. Tatar seems to be very conservative. That's all, I think.
Yeah, very interesting. And are there a lot of are there many Russians and other nationalities or even foreigners that wants to learn the Tatar language?
I can say that none of my Russian and foreign acquaintances has yet shown a desire to learn the Tatar language. I think this is due to the fact that the geography of the use of the Tatar language is still limited, and all foreign citizens, for example, know that they can easily communicate in Tatarstan knowing Russian. If knowledge of English is now in the first place in the world, then in the paradigm of relations between Russia and other countries, I would put Russian in second place and Tatar already in third place, since it has less weight specifically for foreigners in terms of the possibility of communicating with the residents of Russia.
And yeah, and the last question, what do you think is the future of the Tatar language and the Tatar culture?
I wouldn't call the development of the Tatar language and Tatar culture rapid. I'd rather apply the formulation stable and confidently developing to them. I'm very pleased with the appearance of publications, institutions, and cultural movements and objects with the Tatar names, with the Tatar flavor. It seems to me that the main task today is to preserve the use of the Tatar language at the everyday level, because this is an indicator of the liveliness of the language, and I hope we can do it now.
Yeah, and like the last thing I would say is like I've been to Kazan last year, and that's a really nice city that I truly recommend going to, especially there's a lot of great monument, there's the nice mosque there, and and a lot of good food, so that's what I want to say very lastly. And I also bought this hat also.
Oh, it's so sweet, so beautiful to be taken.
Yeah, and also and also this flag, this Tatar flag, the national flag of Tatarstan, which is pretty big. So after Moscow and St. Petersburg, of course, the next trip goes to Kazan. That is that's one of my favorite cities of Russia.
I'm glad that you liked it, and I'm so proud of my city and my republic. Thank you for it.
Yeah, thank you. And but how do you say goodbye in Tatar?
In Tatar, it will be saubul for someone, and saubulğız in plural. You may say saubulğız.
Sabu, can you repeat?
Sau. Sau. Bulağız.
Saubulğız.
Yes.
Saubulğız.
Great.